So I hate to break the news to all those of you who think the Confederacy, no, I'm actually going to love breaking this news to you. All you who think that the Confederacy was just made up of a bunch of traitors, white supremacists, insurrectionists, people who hated the United States, hated the Constitution. Well, the truth is, the Constitution is silent on the issue of secession. And this video isn't about why the South seceded. It's about, is secession constitutional? Well, you have to go back to the Declaration of Independence because the Declaration of Independence is a secession document. Now, everybody knows the line, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, etc., etc. But that phrase, all men are created equal, actually had to deal with political equality, not racial equality. Because these colonists were trying to preserve the rights that they were guaranteed under what they called the ancient constitutions by Parliament. And there's a very important distinction to make here. And that is that in 1776, before they declared their independence, these colonists, who all practiced slavery, by the way, were subjects of the British Crown. So anything that went against the British Crown, the monarchy, was seen as treason. But in 1861, the people living in the South were American citizens before they decided to vote in their state legislators to secede, then become part of the CSA. But this is the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. We've got a lot to get to in this video, so I'm going to just try to get to this as quickly as I can. See if I can do it in about 10, 12 minutes here. We'll see how we do. By the way, welcome back to the channel, Culture Confederacy here. It is Sunday night. I have to admit, this is probably my third or fourth attempt trying to do this video. I just couldn't seem to get it right the first couple times around. So we'll see how we do in this video. But this is going to be my final posting of this. But thank you for subscribing, being a part of this thing called the Culture Confederacy. So here's the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, this is in Congress, July 4th, 1776. So they voted on this in Congress. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. So right here, we're talking about secession. And to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Again, we're talking about secession. They are seceding from the British Crown, from Great Britain. But that's the opening to the Declaration of Independence, first paragraph. And of course, they go through this long train of abuses by the king. And when you get to the last paragraph, they declare that these are free and independent states. These colonies are free and independent states. Now, that term state or states actually meant governing body back then. But this is what it says, final paragraph. These united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. So this is a secession document. A lot of people say, well, the Declaration of Independence has no connection to the Constitution or the Articles of Confederation. Bull. It's all connected here. But did you know that in 1842, John Quincy Adams, well, actually going back to the signing of the Constitution, the ratification process, people were walking out during the creation of the Constitution. In 1794, they were talking about secession in the halls of Congress amongst themselves. But in 1842, John Quincy Adams, on behalf of 46 residents of the town of Haverhill, Massachusetts, read a petition on the House floor where they were calling to secede from the Union because of the South. 1842, John Quincy Adams calling for these on behalf of these 46 residents of Haverhill, Massachusetts, to secede from the Union. But somehow the South is guilty of insurrection, treason, rebellion. William Lloyd Garrison, 1844, in his paper The Liberator, was calling for the North to secede from the South. Just let the South go its own way. Because he called it a union without slaveholders. We want a union without slaveholders. William Lloyd Garrison, 1844, The Liberator. They were floating this idea of secession about during the Hartford Convention after the War of 1812. So this is nothing new. The only difference is the South actually did it. But if the Declaration of Independence is a secession document, then it would make sense that it is the right of the people. They also talk about that in the Declaration of Independence. It's the right of the people to disband their government when it becomes destruction of the means for which it was put in place to carry out these functions of government to protect the people. Now, if you go to the Constitution, you read the preamble of the U.S. Constitution, and I'll also read you the preamble, Article 1 of the CSA Constitution here in a moment. But if you go to the U.S. Constitution, here's the preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. It says from the start here, we the people, not we the government, not we as a nation, but we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Again, not a nation, not a country. You can argue not even a confederation, but they considered it a confederated union. Article 1, Section 1, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. So who is granting this power to the Congress? All these legislative powers. It's the people of the states. We have this idea that it all comes from the top down. No, it is from the bottom up, because it's the people of the states who grant these powers to Congress, to the central government, that are put in place designed to protect the people. We the people. Free and independent states. I mean, we still are a confederation of free and independent sovereign states. Now, if you go to Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution, now if you go through Sections 8 through 10, that talks about all these powers granted to Congress. Talks about, in Section 9, what Congress can do, what they can't do, what the states can't do. But Section 10 focuses on the states. You not only have, the 10th Amendment, states' rights, but you also have Article 1, Section 10, which says this: no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. See right there, the South engaged in insurrection, rebellion, treason. Well, hold on a minute. It says no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation. It doesn't say that no state can't succeed, or secede, rather. Succeed, there you go. They succeeded at seceding, okay. Grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts. That similar language is in the CSA Constitution, albeit it deals with slavery, but contracts covered everything. Because at the time, the South had set up this system because slave labor was more known as slave labor then. They had set up this system of contracts because you had a real issue with the illegal slave trade. You also had indentured servitude. You had immigrants coming over that would enter into indentured servitude or a certain term of service to earn their citizenship. So that all fell in the South under this idea of contracts, obligation of contracts. Believe it or not, indentured servitude, or if you had immigrants who were trying to skip out on their contract, that was all covered by the Fugitive Slave Clause, believe it or not. No state shall, without the consent of the Congress, lay and impose lay any impost or duties on imports or exports except what may be absolutely necessary for executing its inspection laws, the net produce of all duties and imposts, etc., etc. They go on to talk about, without the consent of Congress, lay any duties of tonnage, keep troops or ships of war in time of peace. So that's all in Section 10, Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. But nowhere in that section does it say that a state can't secede. So let's go to the CSA Constitution, and it'll end with some quotes here. So the CSA Constitution, here's their preamble. We, the people of the Confederate States, each state acting in its sovereign and independent character, in order to form a permanent federal government. So they're establishing right here that the states in the CSA, they are sovereign, they are independent. Same language you'll find in the Articles of Confederation. Again, they're trying to return to the Articles of Confederation. That's why they call themselves the Confederate States of America. They still believe in this idea of a confederation or a confederated republic. And they wanted to form a permanent federal government, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, invoking the favor and guidance of Almighty God, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the Confederate States of America. Well, what's missing here? The word slavery. The word slavery is not in the preamble to the CSA Constitution. Yes, it's in the document. But again, that refers to what you see in Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. This idea of passing a bill of attainder or ex post facto law, laws impairing the right or this obligation of or anything that impairs this obligation of contracts, whatever that contract might be. But here's Article 1. It says, Article 1, Section 1, all legislative powers herein delegated shall be vested in a Congress of the Confederate States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Here they use the word vested instead of granted, because the states are sovereign and independent. Everything is centered around the states, and it's the states who grant the power to the center, which is the way it's supposed to be, a return to the Articles of Confederation. And we know about Texas v. White, where they concluded that a single state could not secede, so no unilateral secession, but that it was possible in the case of extreme oppression, revolution, that states, through consent of the states, that a state or states could secede. But I'm going to end with these quotes here for you. And this is a quote here by Andrew Jackson. Now, Andrew Jackson mentioned this in his proclamation to the people of South Carolina. This is during the nullification crisis. He said, secession, like any other revolutionary act, may be morally justified by the extremity of oppression, but to call it a constitutional right is confounding the meaning of terms. It can only be done through gross error or to deceive those who are willing to assert a right, but would pause before they made a revolution or incur the penalties consequent upon a failure. You also had James Buchanan, President Buchanan, who favored the South, favored this idea of secession, but he cautioned about seceding. He cautioned about the repercussions from it. And he said, if this is to be so, the Confederacy, that's what they're referring to it then, the Union as a Confederacy, is a rope of sand to be penetrated and dissolved by the first adverse wave of public opinion in any of the states. In this manner, our 33 states may resolve themselves into as many petty, jarring, and hostile republics, each one retiring from the Union without responsibility whenever any sudden excitement might impel them to such a course. So that's President James Buchanan. So while he favored secession, favored the South, he understood that there are consequences when you secede. That there had to be this balancing act. If you are going to succeed, how are you going to do it? Without, infringing on the rights of other states, infringing on what's set out in the Constitution. So I thought I'd share this with you today and break this myth that somehow the South was engaging in treason or rebellion or insurrection when they seceded in 1861. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can find me at X, Culture Confederacy, at Culture Confed 1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. And you know how we do it here. This is where the past crashes with the present. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Sunday night.